a little about me. I am, like Alex said, Lior Hadashian. I am a co-founder and lead developer at Gavra Games. I'm a lecturer at Tiltan School of Design and Visual Communication. I'm acting as an advisor and consultant for certain video game companies. And I have a few years of game dev experience and as a programmer, as I was in the Israeli Defense Force as a programmer. And I'm 32 years old. Here's a picture of me when I was a few kilograms left and with more black hair. Okay, so about us, Gavra Games. It's a company I co-founded with my cousin Shai. Here's a picture of a late night in 2016 when we were developing our first title, Warriors Rise to Glory. It was one of lot of crunching late nights. I will explain later more about Gavra Games in a few slides. By the way, Gavra means the sexual power of the men.
Gods, what a stupid name.
In retrospective, it's an awful name, but it started as a joke. Okay, so we had our first and very ambitious title, which is Warriors Rise to Glory, you can see here. It's a turn-based gladiator game with an RPG element with emphasis on humor. It started with a full single-player campaign, and later on it got a complete 6-player online mode, which of course I will indulge later. And of course the game is full of memes and references because it says humor, and it only took us 5 years to finish. Yeah, about that also later. I will just show you a trailer so we'll understand what the game is about.
Warriors, assemble! It is I, Eric Strongface, the greatest YouTuber, influencer, and full-time gladiator. Gavra Games have reached out to me to bring you some exciting news. Warriors Rise to Glory, the ultimate turn-based gladiator game, is now online. So gather your friends and make them pay for taking that last slice of pizza with gastronomical consequences. Or test your cooperation in team battles, destroy friendships, and share the loot. But be careful, for alliances are fragile and are replaced faster than stepdads. Did your friend backstab you on the battlefield? Throw them in your enemy's list and lay vengeance upon their faces. And get some crafting loot to improve the things you can buy. Or just chill with the minigames. I don't care. Create a lineage of elite warriors and bring your house towards eternal glory.
Gavra Games takes no responsibility for any friendships, wounds, houses, burns, or knife wounds. Please consult a therapist if you feel the need to shove an axe into your friend's face. For any death threats, please contact us at notarealaddress at gavragames.com. Gavra Games will not cover any costs related to therapy due to rage quits.
Okay, obviously you've seen that the game doesn't take itself seriously. It's also like self-parody on the genre itself. Those of you who know the game Sword and Sandals might have recognized some of the game mechanics. A lot about that later in the end of the presentation. Okay, so I'm going to talk about these magical adventures called the Indie Path. I will talk everything about that happened in our path, everything we did right, and mostly everything we didn't do right. And I will show you all the insights I wish I knew before I started, or we as Gavra Games. Okay, a little background. Basically, I grew up as a gamer. And like most gamers, I had difficulty making friends, so I spent most of my time playing video games. Starting back with the NES or Super NES, I'm not sure what it's called. So me and my cousin Shai, you saw in the slide earlier, we were playing a lot when we were meeting. And we always told ourselves that once you grow up, we will be adults, we're going to make games of our own. So as soon as I finished my service in the army, we started together thinking about our first game. You okay? Okay. Thinking about our first game. Okay, at this stage, like all game developers, we were sure like, oh, of course we will make a game, we'll be rich, we will be #1 in the App Store, or Google Store and everything, and yeah, why not? We'll become the next CD Projekt. Because if every game dev will do that, we will have like 100 CD Projekt every day. So that didn't happen. We understood that we just know nothing about the mobile industry and it's far away from our comfort zone. because our first game was like mobile game, and too bad I didn't put actually a trailer for it, but it was not good. So after we did a mobile game, we decided to go back to the roots and make PC games for Steam. That's how we decided to make the game you saw earlier, Warriors Rise to Glory, which is of course inspired by Sword Sandals. Okay, so it was of course super fun. We were doing it full time, like every day from morning to night, developing the game, which is the dream I think for almost all indie developer. But we were like 8 months into the development. Things were going much slower than we thought and than we hoped for. We had a few problems. We were eating our savings. At first, like first months, we were doing it only on our savings. And only later on, I had like a small side jobs to do private lessons to close the month and rent. But it's not nice to live like from end to mouth. Because we were less experienced, we didn't know how to evaluate how much time every feature will take. So it's like everything we thought will take like a month took 3 to 4 months. We had no business plan. We only said like, oh, of course, you make a good game and it makes money, which is not a bad plan if you're experienced, but for a not experienced team, it's not a good plan, especially when we didn't know like how much resources we have, how much time we can continue on like this. And of course, when you're developing and we don't see any results, any build, anything like going forward, it can be very tiring and grinding. So after 8 months, we were like losing motivation, losing money, and we didn't see like the light of the end of the tunnel. So this is the problems, and my insights from these problems was like everything you think that will take you like X time, make it double or even triple it, really depending on your experience. Do have a plan. You don't have like to plan every stage of development, but take into the consideration the time it will take, and also if you have the required resources, because we didn't have much savings, and we just said like, yeah, sure, it will be okay. Don't do that. Also, as an indie developer, you must know the risks and live with them if everything fails. Have like somewhere to fall to. We didn't have, like we made an all-in. This is where we were expecting to be after 8 months. This is where we actually at. You can understand why we didn't have much motivations. Again, this is like our first title. I don't count the mobile game as a title. Okay. I want to say that reputation is very, very important in the industry. It's a very small industry. You see familiar faces in every convention, every meetup. Either in your city, country, local meetups, or either it's international meetups, Gamescom, DevCom, Gamescom Bratislava, Games Gathering Bratislava. I see a lot of familiar faces here. It's funny because like it's supposed to be a huge world, yet we meet in all these occasions and conventions. So building your name is vital to success. Because if you want, let's say, to work with someone, you cannot come out of the blue and like say, ah, yeah, you want to come up and work with me? Yeah, sure. They need to know your reputation. They need to know if people are like counting on you. And they want to know who you worked with before that. So it's very, very, very important. And my insights are like on every opportunity, in every conversation with people, show them what you're working on. Don't be afraid or embarrassed like in the previous slide to show this. Like it doesn't look good. It's not even our image in the background. But as long as you're showing you're working on something, you're determined and you have the passion for it, show it. You cannot know where it will lead you. Because I know great game developers with great games, but they don't talk about it to anyone, they don't show it, and nobody knows they're existing. And later on, finding publishers or someone to work with, they're having problems with that. So show yourself. Don't be afraid of that. And this slide connects to the previous one because go away. Okay. So okay, as it happens that I'm a human being, even though I'm a programmer and people think that programmers are robots and they only drink coffee. No, we also need to eat. And for food, you need money. So just one time, I went to a two-day educational hackathon. And then I mingled with an industry veteran. And I showed them my screenshots. I showed them whatever we were working on, even though it was ugly back at the time. I was in love with our project, which is also another lesson. Don't fall too much in love with your project, but do fall a little in love because after all, we are indie developers. But get some check on reality. Anyway, I showed them. Okay, we separated our paths, and 3 months later, I get a call from that person who was working in a company which struggled with the Unity development. So he asked me to come and help. I came for a few days. I told them like, okay, I cannot keep on working here because I have my own project. And he just said to me, don't worry, come, bring your cousin, work here 2 days a week. We will give you offices and we will give you investment. Just come to work here. And this is how it's connected to the previous slide. Like, just because I showed them, just because I talked with them, didn't know where it will lead, it led to an investment. I was up to the roof. Like, I didn't believe it's happening. Investment was like our first objective, like getting, I cannot curse. Yeah, getting F money. Just for comparison, this is what I showed them. Yeah, I know it doesn't look amazing. But 5 years later, we improved the banner. How much time I have left? Good. Okay. So like I said, they wanted to invest in us. Being indie developers, we had no knowledge about being a company, a business, and suddenly we became a company because in order to receive an investment, you have to open a company, it seems. So we registered and opened an LTD company. Okay, this was a little surprising because apparently you need money to open a company, and not just to open it, you also need money to maintain it. So for all indie developers out there, just so you know, it costs monthly payments to accounting and bookkeeping. We didn't know that. Too bad. We didn't know where to bring this money because we opened the company before we had investment. So it's like the egg and the chicken. Like, okay, we needed money to open the company, but we opened the company with no money. Again, we were burning even more of our savings. Thank God we had that job to close our costs. And sadly, I don't know how is it in Europe. I think it's easier, but in Israel, getting funds for an indie company, impossible. Okay, so like I said, we opened the company. So when you're opening a company, you also need to make everything legal and legal documented. And this is for everyone who is working in a team of indies. It's very, very important to make everything official. Let's say you have a partner, let's say you are the best friends ever. In that case, it's most important to make a legal document because in case you, I don't know, fight over something in the game, in the business, you don't want to ruin your friendship. And that's why the more you're close to the one you're working with, it's more important to make a document. So we made a founders agreement that take care of every case, like if someone of us leaves, what happens to the stocks of the company, what happens if we don't agree, and what happens if someone dies. I don't know. I just used to tell my partner to watch out when he goes abroad. CEOs tend to have accidents, and CTOs get all the percentage. Who knows? Okay. I like to make games. I don't like to make investments. Investments are not fun. They will take you all the motivation away. They will take your creativity away, and you will deal with a lot of small details. And we had a 30-page of investment. It was a nightmare. My insights from this are, first of all, be prepared for it. I don't say all investments will be like this, but it has a lot of ping pong, a lot of back and forth. Get yourself a good lawyer. Don't save on lawyers because saving a lawyer will cost you a lot in the future. A good lawyer will save you the time, will do everything, all the hard stuff in the agreement. Of course, it will need you and to be involved in this. but it will save your interest, which is very, very important for the future. At the beginning, we were like, oh, okay, we're getting investment, so we have to be like good boys and accept everything. Don't do that. Only after we showed teeth, like a wolf, we started receiving fair terms. So don't be afraid to know what you're worth. But it's okay to bend over on the first investment. Like, you need to find the middle ground. It took 6 months of back and forth to finish these negotiations. It was horrible. And by the way, a good lawyer is not cheap. Taking that into consideration. Yeah, you can understand you need a lot of money. And this is everything before we even got an investment. It was very hard. Okay, so as indie developers, you have to choose your battle. Like I said before, we were inexperienced. Inexperienced, not experienced. And our time evaluating skills weren't amazing. At that point, we understood we took a game really too big for us to chew. And when working for a big game for a long time, especially for your first game, your motivation going down with the time. Especially when your milestones are too far from each other. Let's say we did a mistake of having a build like every 6 months. Like we always said, no, we need to push more into the build. We need to push more, and it's not fun. It's like you're digging into a tunnel. You don't see the end of it. So you want to feel progress. So my insight is like, put it together into small chunks, like faster iterations, smaller builds. Don't be afraid to send that build to people, to friends, to testers. We were on a convention in Israel, a small one, and we just showed the game, let people play it. It wasn't the best build, it was, too bad I don't have a picture of it, but it was something like in the picture with the warrior. People were playing it, people were still signing up for the beta. And then we went sending out our first newsletter for the beta testers. Someone got it on YouTube, and we got a lot of Russian players out of nowhere. Yeah, I shouldn't have said it right now. But my point is, like, again, you think you have a bad build, show it. You don't know what will happen with it. At the worst, you will get feedback. And that's good. Okay, my next thing I want to talk about is think about marketing. We didn't think about it enough in advance, but we did think about it. Like you see, this is YouTube influencers while we were in early access. It's not even in the finished game. It's for the single player. And we were receiving a lot of views. Some of it by chance, some of it by good intentions. First of all, when you're making a game, understand who is your target audience. We didn't do that at first. We just, like I said, we wanted to make a good game based on a game we loved. It's all right, but it's not marketing thinking. 1 second. Okay, yeah, sorry I missed it. But when we were releasing the game on early access, after a week, we received a very, very big influencer who played it on Bilibili, if you know it. It's like a Chinese YouTube, and that brought us a lot of players, like 7,000 copies sold only on China through that. And there was a problem because the game wasn't localized for China. And we saw like 20% of the players from China were refunding the game. It's a lot, like 20% from 7,000, it's 1,400 copies. It's a lot of money. So another term to think in marketing, it's making sure like you have the right localization and languages right from the release. And if you can't make sure of that, make sure that you can add the languages on the fly. Like be prepared for localization. We wasn't ready, yet we were able like in 1 week, 2 weeks to add China and save whatever players we could from China. Also in the term of marketing, we were lucky, I guess, because the Gladiator, it's a Gladiator fight game. And Gladiator fight games are built for the audience to enjoy. So in our case, both the audience in the game and the audience outside the game enjoyed the show because it was supposed to look and feel spectacular. So we got lucky, like it was looking good for audience, yet we didn't intention for it enough. Okay, so like I said, do and just don't be afraid to show. Um, so on 2017, we had an opportunity to join the Israeli Shark Tank show. Do you have the Shark Tank show, by the way? It's mostly in the US. Okay, the Shark Tank show is a show where you come to 5, 6 investors. You have 3 minutes to pitch them, and you tell them about your idea. It can be a game, it can be a patent, it can be like opening a shop, whatever you want. And they need to decide if they want to invest in you, in the offer you gave them, and they can also give you a counter offer. So we had the opportunity like to sign up for the show. We said, why not? At the worst case, it will be like exposure, which is good. Actually, we didn't come at all with the intention of getting money. We just wanted to the exposure and to try. You just need to seize opportunities. So on 2017, we came to the Shark Tank show. We came with a game which wasn't out yet, and we did got an offer. I think it was 30% or 25% for about 100K US dollars. And we did the logical thing to do. We refused. We didn't take the money. Why? Because we are crazy, mostly. Also because we understood what we are worth. And I'm sorry, but we are worth more than that. And it's okay to refuse. And all the country, so we refuse money, which is giving you a lot of strength. It's showing you're not desperate for money, which is a good leverage for investors. Funny thing is, 1 year later, we got invited to participate again in the same show. Some different investors, some of them were from the previous show, and this time 4 of them gave us an offer, and we took an offer from 2 of them, which was 20% for 210 US dollars, 210K, of course. we were not desperate, like I said. Okay, investments are not fun because we came down to it again, lawyers, due diligence, negotiations, and this time it took us a lot of time. It took us about 8 to 10 months, I think, to close the deal. Again, back and forth, a lot of money, a lot of time, a lot of grinding and nerves that were broken. So my insight from all these investments are like, have someone on the team who is dedicated for taking care of that, because not me, not my partner, love to handle all the business. Sadly, we had to because we had no one else. But it's important to have someone who does love it, or at least dedicated for doing only that and focusing himself on this thing. I've seen a lot of indie teams falling because no one of them wanted to make the business decision. Nobody wants to do that, so they just choose someone, and sometimes they fall only on the business side. 1 second. Okay, so a little about publishers versus investors. This is also like an insight I had after dealing with investors. Sometimes it's better to have a publisher, sometimes an investor. I will talk a little about the difference. Publisher will talk about getting revenue from the game itself, while investors will take stocks from the company, percentage. So it means publisher will take from your revenue stream, yet investor will take only from the percentage, which means only when you are giving away dividends or selling the company, only then you will see money and will take from your money. But an investor will require you to sign a contract, which applies a lot of restrictions, like capping your salary, which isn't nice, because if you didn't have a cap on your salary, they won't see any money because you can just like giving away all to yourself. Publisher won't give you all that. They will give you a game-specific contract. So you always need to think about like how big is your current game versus your future titles, because if your game like doesn't so much matter to your survival on the company, so a publisher might be a good idea. Okay, you can take 30 to 40%, but you won't take from your future games, while an investor will take and will have restrictions and will take a lot of your time because it will want like a yearly board meetings, maybe quarterly. it really depends who you go with. There are many investors. There are not like one investor type and one publisher type, but there is the division between publisher and investors, like I said, game versus company. So just to sum it up, there is no right choice. Everyone needs to see the future of the company and where they're seeing themselves in 5 years and to choose a publisher or investors. Sometimes, by the way, you don't get a choice. Sometimes you need to take whatever you can, especially for your first game. So up and away. The funds gave us a great boost. We were able to do it in full time now, expanding our team. We were like 7 developers at our best, at our prime, let's say. And it gave us much more security and space to spend money on marketing, which was supposed to be great, yet again, none of us are marketing geniuses, and even though we took a lot of companies that will help us with it, it wasn't so successful. And we should have understood that. At this point, like, to put a stop somewhere. Like, it's okay to understand that your game is not your dream game and it won't succeed as much as you think. Sadly, we didn't do it, which is also an insight from me to you. Know when to put a stop. And even though we had a lot of resources, we once again took too much on our ends because it was single player at the time, and then we wanted to make the game multiplayer, but not just 1 versus 1 matches. Like you saw, it's a 6-player arena, and we wanted to add leaderboards, rankings, daily rewards, matchmaking, 6-player multiplayer battles, boss battle customization, server side, and more. Even though we were experienced by blood in game development, no one in the team had experience for multiplayer or server programming, which was a lot of hassle, which was a lot of learning time. So it took us also a lot of time and added unexpected delays because in multiplayer everything goes bad. If before that I said like that everything you think does take X time make a double, with multiplayer make it 4 or 5 times worse, especially when none of the team has experience for that. We should have brought someone who is experienced with multiplayer, but $200K dollars, it's not a lot. Not a lot at all for indie game developers, and sadly people in Israel are pricey. So like I said, once again, we took too much on our ends, and we thought that, okay, we have all the assets, we have all the game mechanics built up. It wasn't enough. The transition to multiplayer and all the features I said we wanted to add were a lot, even though we had all our things, all the foundations. And speaking of foundations, the foundations weren't good. They were bad. They started like 3-4 years ago, with a lot of errors, with a lot of technical debt. Again, we should have known when to stop and just make the next game. And of course, we had COVID in the process, which caught us by surprise. And moving from physical work to remote also need time and time getting used to. Okay, I will skip forward very fast to January 2022. Yeah, this is us, I think, our mental state at least when we launched the game. After many delays, one pandemic, too many lockdowns, and sleepless nights, we made it. We fully released the game on Steam. Sadly, it wasn't a huge success as we hoped for. After all the hype we had from YouTube and sales from China on early access, we had high expectations from the Chinese market especially, and all the global audience, of course. So my insights are like this. Strike the iron while it is hot. It took us way too long to release the game. And by that time we released the game, the hype was gone. People were no longer waiting for it. Like, if we would have cut down the development time like in half, I think it would have yielded much better results, even though it had much less polish and much less features. And like I said, we were counting on China. Counting on China is very hard, especially when things are changing there every day, every week. And we didn't take into consideration that there is the Great Firewall. And once we added the multiplayer, most of the players from China wasn't able to play. So we put a lot of our eggs and we did a lot of all-ins in this game, which again, in retrospective, don't do it. Okay, mostly when we are talking about indie developing or game developing or any business, we're talking about the main resource, money. Money is not the only resources you should think about. You need to take into consideration other resources, like I said, motivation, burnout. I'm not sure if it's a resource, but how you're working out with your team. How can you work with them, let's say, in next year, 2, 3, if you're okay with them, if you don't have any struggles with one another. When you're starting a new project, you are usually pumped, everything goes well, but later on, when you start making changes that are not easy anymore to implement, you can spend an entire day fixing just one bug. This is very bumping down. Keep the team united and happy working with each other. Because when there is burnout and lack of progress, it can cause problems, struggles with one another, and affect the team communication. It's something that you really need to work on. It's like a relationship for anything, especially for us when we were like 2 founders. After a year or 2, when you're working back to back with each other, you need to be creative and to be happy with one another. And it's like being married. You need to suffer everything, all the disadvantage and all the problems the other men have. Don't be afraid to compliment each other. Like, no one will tell you that. No one will tell you good job and congratulations or anything, because you are the founders. So don't be afraid to say that to each other and appreciate one another. Also, don't be afraid to take a day off. Don't be afraid to stop working. If you're working 2 months to 3 months in crunching, believe me, taking 1 day off will give you a great reset and will be much more productive than working. And I know that's usually you say, oh no, why should I lose another 12 hours of job? But believe me, that other 70 will become much better if you take that 12 hours a day off. Think of it as a good chef which is making a lot of gourmet food, but if he won't eat by himself gourmet food or good food and will eat all day chocolate with bread, he will lose his touch. So also indie devs need to keep on practicing, let's say it, and play games. And enjoying is not a bad word. Sometimes I think you do need to add features that your audience asking, but sometimes add features which you're more comfortable with working on, because you will have fun and it's okay. It's important. Like I said, sanity, you won't keep it. And being indie means a lot of stress and uncertainty. There is nothing much you can do about it. Just take that into consideration when you become an indie. When you go on this journey, I don't recommend doing it alone. I know there are some games that some indie developers made 3 years on their own, and it's a great success, like Undertale. But I do recommend having a partner, but having someone you trust, you know beforehand, or at least the reputation talks beforehand. Like I said, reputation is everything. Okay, this is interesting. Oh, okay. So I don't know why it's missing, but okay. Here there was supposed to be a picture where, imagine that, where Warriors Rise to Glory was on the front page of Steam, and that's because we had a good relationship with Steam. We talked with them like I don't want to say daily, but at least 1 to 3 months, we were asking something in the support system. We were having contacts there. We were emailing them, like asking if this is fine, this is okay, if we can do that. All this communication paid off when we were in the front page of Steam, a white page. It gave us a real boost, not only for sales, but for us. It gave us like an achievement. Hey, my game reached the top, not the top page, the front page. It not only recommended to some players, but objectively, all players who entered Steam saw the game. It was really, we were all very proud of it. And like I said, also was a boost for financials. This connects back to the slide where I said that the game was built on, not on, but inspired by Son the Sandals. we reached out to the original developer, and today we have a bundle with them. Again, reaching out, don't be afraid. You cannot know what will happen. We didn't know what kind of collaboration we will have with this particular developer, but we just reached out, thinking together, and voila, we have a bundle with them. Again, gave boost to our copies, copy sale, and also achievement. We loved the game, we loved the developer, and it was like, we did it. And it was also like a card to show to all the people who said that we're a copy of Solid Standards. We told them, no, we're not, we have the blessing of the developer. Oh, okay, there it is. This is the picture of the daily deal. It's called the daily deal, by the way, when you have a promotion from Steam to reach out the main page. So it's like very nice to see GTA, Sniper Elite, and Warriors. Again, my insight from this is be determined, be communicative, it's worth it. Before I move on to the questions, I will drop the mic. I will have like I will add a point. Like I think every developer, not just indie developer, but mostly indie developers, need to think if they are making games in order to make money, or you are making money in order to make games. It's I think it's better to be the latter. So, questions. Oh, okay.
When your game is finished at all, that you do not need to add some features, update something, that your game is full, and what are your next steps?
Okay, so if I understand correctly, Alex is asking like if there was a point that we were happy with the game, we said it's finished and it's okay. No, you never reached that point. We had like 50% of the features cut out, both for the single player, both for the multiplayer. Sadly, the game wasn't successful as much as we hoped for. We had like cases, if it's a bad case, if it's not successful, we just stop it. Also, our funds were running out, so we couldn't, even if we wanted to add more. But we had like a case where it's successful. Okay, we will add more features. But in retrospective, even though if we had enough funds, I was exhausted. 5 years working on the same game, it's really grinding, it's really hard. At some point, just like for yourself, you just don't do it anymore. Maybe you can hire some other people to complete the vision, but I don't think any game is ever complete. I think even CD Projekt said about The Witcher 3, they had a lot of features left out. So this is about it.
Question is, how do small indie companies manage that? Like, where are only 5 people in the team and like 10 spheres to do? How do you manage that?
Okay. Sorry. Yeah. So Alex was asking. Oh, sorry, your name is Ed. My mistake. So Alex was asking like indie versus huge companies. Like huge companies have product managers. They have a hierarchy. Better definition, like which role is assigned to anyone, right? Yeah. And how do we handle it in an indie company? Well, sadly, in an indie company, you can't have just one role. Everyone takes a lot of hats on their head. I was both the CTO, both the CFO, lead developer, some game designer, taking business decisions. So you just take a lot of hats on you. At the beginning, there is like some chaos, I think, like who is supposed to do what. But after sometimes some fights and some chaos, it just organically happen, I think, in a good team. It's organically happening that everyone know what the Etsy is wearing, and sometimes you just pass it on like, okay, I can't make it to the marketing meeting. Can you do it? Yeah, sure. Can you do it? Yeah. But mostly we had like the people who are supposed to do it in the first place, but you have to juggle. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Mm. What's your name? Okay, Barbara was asking if, in retrospective, I should have worked in a big studio, gain experience, and only later on start this journey. I tell you the truth. My answer is no, because okay, for me it's no, because I know if I would have start working somewhere with a good payment, with good benefits and everything like this, I see it as a golden cage because I feel good. My life is good. I don't want to suddenly leave everything and risk everything to go in being an indie developer, especially with the time. Most of the chances with the time you will have family, you will have responsibilities, and the more older you become, the less risk you can take. So in retrospective, I'm happy I did it that way. Again, with this knowledge, I would have been much happier. But no, I think this is the right way. This is the way for indie developers. Oh, okay. So Alex asked like what game engine we were using for developing the game. Um, Actually, it's a good point. I should have added that and also added your question to the all of your questions to the presentation. We were using the Unity engine. First of all, because it was in our ecosystem. In Israel, 90% of the developers are using Unity engine, which is also an important insight. Use engine which is familiar to people around you. So we'll have someone to ask questions. Someone will help you. It's important to be in the same ecosystem. And I'm personally not everyone in the team, not everyone, and also in the ecosystem, not everyone is happy with the Unity engine. For me, it was very helpful. For me, we had a lot of support from the Unity team, and it gave us the tools to do everything we wanted. So I'm very happy with it. I think it's very suitable for small games and small indie companies. Any more questions? Okay. Thank you very much.
Yes. Let's thank our respected guest, our speaker, with loud applauses. From his presentation, we can make a great, useful conclusion that if you always keep going, never give up, and face all the challenges on the way, the fate will bless you and you will achieve your goals. So thank you for this inspiring presentation and hope to see him next year. And all the guests are welcomed for the next our coming presentation as well. So thank you for this hour. Have a nice rest of the day.